Hey, good afternoon. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter today. Our guest today is Dean Mercado, and this is Smart Business Moves.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Dean, we haven't seen you in so
I
long.
know. It's been many, many, many years.
Yeah.
We're overdue.
Yeah.
Oh, way overdue. And
So
we never,
buckle in. Buckle
I,
in, everybody, because
Yeah,
we are overdue.
got a lot to
Yeah,
cover.
absolutely.
Yeah. We're just
uh,
trying to figure out how long. And
Right.
you know, always like when I think about how long has it been, it all starts at like March 2020. It's like, is that pre-COVID or post-COVID? And it's like,
Right.
well, I know
Right.
this was pre-COVID. How many years prior to COVID? Because COVID kind of messed up timing for everything.
Yes, it
yeah.
did.
So
It
I'm thinking
screwed
this
up
is
everything.
probably 4 or 5 years before COVID was a thing,
Right.
maybe
Right.
longer.
I bet more. Tom, you always underestimate the amount of time. When we go back and look, we're like, what? It's so
Right.
much more.
It just shows you how everything happens in a blink.
It's
It's
true.
just insanity, and I feel like the older I get, the faster it's moving.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know if that's just me, but
No,
No,
that's not you.
no.
it's insane. It's
No,
insane. Slow down. Slow down.
no.
You know,
It's
we got a
crazy.
lot of things to do still.
It's going to be worse when you get grandkids.
Oh my
It's like,
goodness.
oh my
Oh,
gosh, that
yeah,
like that speeds everything up even more.
absolutely. Oh my
Crazy,
goodness.
crazy. All
You
right.
guys
Well,
are depressing me.
I'm sorry. What? What,
You're
Tom?
depressing me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah, but
like,
it's fun
Right.
speed.
Right. Yeah.
Sound right.
It's all what we make of it. Just trying to enjoy every moment. And these moments are great when we get
Yeah.
a chance to do this and just have great conversation. So
Well,
excited.
I like your optimism there, Dean. Great conversation, right?
After what I saw happen in the state of New York after the last couple of years, all
Uh,
I have is optimism. I
so,
have to be an optimist. Otherwise, forget it. I'm done. You know.
so,
So,
so I'm going to roll the clock back a little bit. I
please.
was introduced to Dean. I don't even want to guess how long ago this was. This was a good while ago
Yeah.
by Teresa Ward.
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
Dean
Teresa.
built Teresa Ward's website and did SEO work for her and maybe other things as well.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Teresa owned Long Island,
Oh my God.
and Dean was a big part of that recipe.
Right.
And um, I remember, she brought you to some ARCSI events. You spoke, and you were
Yes.
talking a language most of us didn't really even understand at that time. This was all kind of new. We were kind of coming out of that age when marketing was, buying a big yellow page ad,
Right.
and maybe doing what is it, Valpak.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like,
Oh
what's this
yeah.
internet stuff? How's that
Right.
work?
You know. Yeah. I mean, that's going back here in Teresa's name just in itself. Wow.
Yeah.
Teresa and I had a lot of history. We did a lot of great things together. I remember the first time I met her. It was at a networking event here on Long Island. We were both big networkers at the time, and she just comes up to me in her way and just like, "How can you help me?" And just kind of like that. And I'm like, "Who the heck are you?" But it's like there was something about her that we just instantly clicked. We both have a little bit of that New York brashness to us, so we just clicked, and yeah, and we just decided, you know what? Let's dominate Long Island. Let's own it. Let's see what we could do. Let's see how far we could push this thing, and we did. You know, um, with the help of her husband Kevin at the time, and she had a great team that she was assembling around us, and wow, and that's where it started morphing from not only the marketing but into the coaching side, as I mentioned, Tom, prior to the call. How
Mhm.
the coaching side of my business started to take off, and a lot of that started with the Teresa thing back then, where it was like they were looking for more than just, can you do more for us than just build us a website? What else can you do for us? and
Yeah.
So
and, and that
so
was her mentality.
so here we are in 2023. For those in our audience that maybe don't know you or know what you do, could you kind of walk us through your background and the
Sure.
services you provide?
Sure, you bet. I came out of big corporate America many, many years ago. I spent about a dozen years there, running very high profile teams and projects around the world. Did some phenomenal things. However, I was an entrepreneur at heart. I always was. I was the kid running around, washing all the cars, mowing all the lawns, shoveling all the snow. Once you're that guy, there's no shackling you down in some corporate America cubicle. It just didn't work. It didn't fit. So about 12 years into corporate America, I said, you know what? I got to give this a shot. Before I get married, before I have kids, I have to satisfy that inner something that's bugging the you know what out of me. So with the permission of my fiance at the time, it was like, I'm going to leave corporate America. And it was kind of like, are you crazy? I was making great money in corporate America. I had high position, and it was like, I'm miserable. I'm just miserable. And it's like, I have to go after what I feel there's something there. There's another gear. So I broke out, left that behind, went from making beautiful 6 figures to making 0. Got my rear end kicked all over town, thinking that I had all the college degrees. I thought I knew everything I needed to know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what it was really meant to be a true entrepreneur, how to be a true business owner. So I got my butt kicked everywhere for a couple of years. I went through that, had a couple of companies up and down. Finally, I got some help, got some coaching myself. I said, you know what? This can't be this difficult. It just can't be, right? So I got a little bit of help. Online marketing muscle was fired up at the time. We just got it started. It's going back to 2004. All my peers laughed at me. They made fun of me. They were like, you got to be kidding me. I thought you were smart. Why the heck would you start an internet company? Internet's just a fad. What are you, crazy? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, all right, okay, no problem. Whatever you think. That's, almost 20 years later, who's laughing, right? I think the internet kind of wasn't a fad. It's still here.
Yeah, maybe not.
Right.
Yeah, it might hang around for a while.
Right. It might hang around a little bit longer. So online marketing muscle was started up. We were doing a lot of web work. Most companies did not have websites yet at that time, as crazy as that sounds. We were spending most of our marketing efforts trying to convince people that they needed a website, that they needed an internet presence.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy, right?
Yeah, I was doing events all over trying to tell people, hey, you need a website. So we had a lot of web design going on, a lot of SEO going on. That has morphed over the years. Online marketing muscle has redefined itself several times. As you both know, you have to do with companies. You have to always reevaluate what's working, what's not working, where are things going, so that we're not stuck in something that was so yesterday. These days, we're into a lot more sales and marketing automation. We're in a lot more systems development, bigger picture marketing, bigger picture lead generation, bigger picture lead conversion than what we were doing by just building websites. We still do websites. It's not a problem. We still do a lot of SEO and content creation. But sales and marketing automation is really the big side of that. But somewhere...
When you say bigger picture, can you illustrate for us what you mean by bigger picture?
Well, it was more about really looking into what your buyer's journey was, what your customer's journey is, what stages and phases they go through, what do they need from you at what time during that cycle that they're going through that journey. So it was a matter of really personalizing the experience all the way through. Whereas maybe 20 years ago, it was more about if you just had a website and you threw something up there, you could sell it a lot easier. Mm-hmm. Now, with global competition, it's just not that simple anymore. You have to really stand out in a big way compared to your peers, your competitors, and whomever you're up against, right? So marketing has grown in leaps and bounds from where it was when we were going with Valpak, as Tom and I were alluding to earlier, with the Valpaks of the world. That's not a knock on Valpak. That's just where things were 20 years ago. Things are a little different now. Does that mean that won't work anymore? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that things are different. So now it's about looking at that journey and saying, okay, what marketing do I need through what stage of that journey? What do I need to be? How do I need to be communicating with my audience throughout that process? So that's kind of where online marketing muscle is now. Now, during that process, during that span of 19 years, I think it's been now, at some point, it started coming out where our clients were asking for more. It was like, okay, This is great. You could build us a website. What else can you do for us? You know all this about all of this. Can you help us with strategy? Can you help us with planning? Can you help us with this? They were asking for coaching is what was
Okay.
coming out of that. So we started finding that we were doing much, much, much more and more and more coaching than we were even doing agency work. So Dean was getting in the way of online marketing muscle, and online marketing muscle was getting in the way of Dean at that point. So a couple of years back, we figured, you know what? We need to just split this out. I didn't want an agency that depended on me solely. I wanted the agency to have its own identity beyond me. And what I do with my coaching and my speaking, that's me. That's on me, right? So we physically split the two companies apart. Life's been better since, right?
Okay.
A lot less complaining from everybody, and it's a lot clearer what we do, right?
So
In that aspect.
you have a team that's doing the heavy lifting on the online marketing side, and you're spending more time coaching.
Yeah, pretty much so. That's the way I wanted it. That's the way I wanted to create it. You know, the online marketing muscle, I don't know if I'm going to still be running that company in a few years. I wanted to leave that option open. When I became an entrepreneur, it was about creating lifestyle business for myself. There were certain things that I wanted for myself. I wasn't looking to become a billionaire. I wasn't looking to become the next Elon Musk or anything. That was not what I was looking for. I was looking to be able to create the lifestyle that I wanted for myself and the family that I wanted to create. And that's what I wanted. So we could live the life we wanted in New York, which is not, necessarily the easiest thing to do.
Right.
but I knew what I wanted. It was just a matter of dialing things so that they were congruent with that. And that was a long time growth process for me. You have to get the ego out of the way. You have to get in alignment with so many things. I went through a lot of coaching myself, hiring coaches to coach me. Never
Right.
hire a coach, people, who doesn't have a coach. So I always say that, right? So doing a lot of work on myself through the process to try and figure out what I really want to do and how I want this thing to show up and how I want to show up.
That's really good advice, because I know a lot of people, and there's a time when I thought that way. It's like, I don't need a coach. I
Right,
can do this
right.
on my own. And we all need a coach. And if we don't
Everyone,
think that we need a
everyone
coach, that's just another data point that you need a coach.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, I'm like, just because I'm coaching you doesn't mean I'm smarter than you. Not at all. As an entrepreneur, means nothing. It just means that I have a trained eye and I have a trained ear. I'm looking and listening for certain things in your game. And when I see those things, I know how to point them out to you. I know how to possibly help you navigate those because I've done that with others. It doesn't mean I'm a better entrepreneur than you. And that's what a lot of people get stuck on that. It's like, you just gotta get past that. And that's why I said sometimes it takes a lot of work on yourself, getting
And,
your own ego out of the way.
and to make a sports analogy, a lot of times the better coaches weren't really the best athletes.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
it doesn't matter,
It's a
what.
different skill set, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is.
Different skill set. So it's you just have to know the game well enough. You have to be in and around the game long enough. At this point, I've logged well over 10,000 hours one-on-one coaching people. So I've
Right.
been doing this quite a bit. And I
Well,
always say I learn as much from the people I coach as they learn from me.
yeah,
So, and
yeah.
I've coached a lot of smart people in your industry. So
Um,
I've learned a ton from some of those folks.
Well, tell us about
keep that a secret, Dean. Keep that a secret. Don't.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about your coaching, Dean. What is your, what's your strategy? What's your methodology? Like, what's your philosophy? Tell us about it.
Sure. We have two big philosophies, two big methodologies we work from. About 10 years or so ago, I put out a book called The MINDstretch. It became a bestseller on Amazon. This was before everybody knew how to cheat Amazon to become a bestseller. So we actually sold the books back then. But the MINDstretch is one of the methodologies I stick by, which has everything to do with, at the core of everything we do is your vision. So a lot of it starts with, what do you want? Why do you want it? And I can't tell you how many very smart entrepreneurs cannot answer that question properly. They clearly do not know what they want and why they're doing what they're doing. All right. So the vision sits at the core of everything. With the MINDstretch methodology around that is what we call our 90-day sprints. We operate in 90-day sprints. Everything is a 90-day sprint. And we go through a process of planning, taking action, and then reflecting on that. We plan, we take action, we reflect, and we work in these cycles so that we're nailing big rocks, big things for the companies that we're working with. Every quarter, we're nailing at least 3 big things, and that's what we focus on. If we were to take care of those 3 big things this quarter, what might your business look like? What might your world look like? How could you better serve your audience if we were able to handle that? So, I mean, one of the problems that we've dealt with over and over again was hiring. How many times in the cleaning industry, people come in, we can't find talent. We can't find this. We can't find that. So that was one we dealt with a lot in the cleaning industry. Another one was systems. We dealt with systems a ton in the cleaning industry because most of the time we had owners who were owner operators and they couldn't get their way out of the field, or they couldn't get their way out of the way so that their people can actually solve the problems that they were better suited to solve. Right. So, and then there's an outer band to this methodology, the MINDstretch methodology, which has to do with mindset. And that really revolves around your business will only grow to the degree you do. If you do not work on yourself and you do not grow yourself as the owner of that organization, your company will always be stunted in its growth. It will only grow a certain amount. So when we alluded before to everybody needs a coach, everybody needs a coach. And that's one of the reasons why, is to help you think bigger, to challenge you, to step out of your own way and get out of the way sometimes and let your team do their thing, right? So that's a little bit of the MINDstretch methodology. So when we're coaching, that's really the predominant methodology that we work from. Each element of that methodology, whether it's the vision, the planning, the action, the reflection, or the mindset, each one of those has a framework that we work within and tons of templates that we work with. So if somebody comes to us and they just don't have any of that, we got it. Start with what we have and then adopt and adapt it to you. And then it's yours. But we try and get people to focus more on the now. How do we change your world right now? And that's why we run in these 90-day sprints. Because most people are thinking, they're either thinking way too far out, right? Or they're thinking way too short term.
I love the 90-day sprint. There's, a lot of other, business methodologies. I mean, every great idea was built upon great ideas that preceded it.
You bet.
I'm
bet.
thinking, you mentioned rocks, Rockefeller habits,
Right.
Picked on some of that, and then that was like put into EOS, and there's others, but there's something magic about 90 days.
There is
a long enough time frame where you can actually get something done, but it's not so long that you're going to procrastinate and wait to the last minute. It creates a sense of urgency, but still gives you a chance to do something meaningful.
Spot on. I 100% agree with that. And if we learn to just chunk it down like that, it simplifies business so much, because we stop thinking about the 9,000 things on our list that we want to get done. And we put our focus on 3 big things that if we were to nail those 3 big things this quarter, what might business look like? And then over the course of a year, you've now nailed 12 big things. So instead of focusing on those 12 things at the same time and getting nowhere with any of them, you're nailing 3 at a time. So this way, come the second quarter, You've already got the first 3 things done in the first quarter. Your business is that much better in the second quarter. And then you're nailing 3 more things. So by mid-year, you've now really tackled 6 huge things. And your company is now functioning and operating so much better 6 months deep in this. So it's about getting the wins. Get out there and get the wins, because there's nothing more demoralizing than when it seems like nothing's moving, nothing's changing, nothing's happening. I'm running. I'm killing myself here, and I'm not seeing anything. Does that resonate? Right?
We've all been there. We've all done that. And
Absolutely.
one of the things that we talked about that we wanted to touch upon in this discussion is how to clone yourself. I mean, I guess part of how to get out of this whirlwind, this just Groundhog's Day thing, is to build a team. And how you want to speak a little bit about how to clone yourself?
Sure. Our other big methodology that we have besides the MINDstretch methodology is the Clone the Owner methodology. And that one came out of coaching cleaning companies a long time ago. That's where that spawned from, because I was coaching probably about a dozen of them at the time, every week, working with at least a dozen. And these are, you probably would know all of them. We won't mention their names for their own privacy, but these were all heavy hitters in your industry. And I was hearing something show up over and over and over again. And again, with the trained ear, you listen for patterns. That's what we do as coaches. We listen for patterns. And when we hear the patterns, we look to sink our teeth into those patterns, right? So we were hearing over and over again, if I just had 10 of me, life would be better. I can't seem to get so-and-so to do this. I can't get this done. If I just had 10 of me, if I just had 10 of me. And we kept hearing that from so many different owners that we went back and we took some stock, and we sat back and thought about that. And we said, okay. And out of that came our concept of Clone the Owner. So Clone the Owner was all about leverage, was all about helping business owners get leverage on their business. Again, helping them get out of their own way long enough so that the business could operate without them. And that was a hard thing for a lot of business owners, especially in the cleaning industry. A lot of them didn't really want to let go. They loved the thought of delegating, but they really didn't want to let go. They were holding on to it, and they were fighting, kicking, and screaming the whole way as we're trying to just let go, right? So the Clone the Owner methodology is very similar to the MINDstretch methodology. At the center sits the vision. The core is the vision. We always have to be clear on what we want and why we want it. If we're not clear, all the marketing you do is not going to achieve what you want it to achieve. All the sales you try and do is not going to achieve because you don't know what you want. When you concretely pin something and say, this is the number I'm going for, this is what I'm going to accomplish exactly, it's so much easier to hit a target when you know what target you're aiming at. The problem is most are just like, we hear somebody else in the industry say, well, I want to run a 7-figure business, right? And I would often ask a question right back at cleaning company owners and say, do you have any idea what it takes to run a 7-figure business in the residential cleaning space? Oh, you don't? Maybe you ought to talk to somebody who does. Do you need me to facilitate that and introduce you to a few people who have? So then maybe you could get some perspective. Number one, do you really want to do what they do? Because running a 7-figure business is very different than running your own one-team business, very different animal. And you've got to be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. And do you want to do the things that you need to do to get there from where you are?
Bingo. And that's, we were bumping into that a lot. So at the core sits that vision, right? So again, one of our frameworks and biggest processes is let's take a step back and let's make sure that we're clear on what it is you want and why. So when they hire online marketing muscle, I push back immediately. A lot of times, and people used to think there was something wrong with me back in the day because I wouldn't let people just hire us. Because if we weren't a good fit, I don't want your money. Remember, I created a lifestyle business. I wasn't looking to be Elon Musk. So if I can't help you, I'm going to tell you, I'm not the right guy.
Right.
We're not the right company for you. If I know I can help you, I'm the first one to tell you. I'm from New York. I'm brash. I'm going to tell you straight up, let's go. We got this. Let's do it. But if I can't, I'm telling you that too. So the vision, once we're clear on where we want to go and why we want to go there, right? And for us, a vision consists of three main components, just for your clarity. It consists of your purpose or your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? It also consists of your mission. I call it your what by your when. What by when? Your mission is kind of like a big, hairy, audacious goal, but with a because statement at the end of it, telling us why you want to do that. Why is that important to accomplish that? And then the third element of our vision is our core values. That's kind of like how we conduct ourselves, how we behave, how we go about doing things. And for us, we look at core values critically important. We allow people to hire us when they have similar core values. We hire based on core values. I could train anybody who has the aptitude for the skills. I
Right.
can't train you to have the same core values. I can't train you to respect our value system. You either do or you don't. And I don't make you wrong if you don't. You have your own set of values, and that's fine. Right? So it's, again, when you come from a space, and it's a space of, I look at it as a space of love, not a space of cockiness or trying to be something that I'm not. I'm in my mid-50s now. I don't really care anymore in that way. I really don't. I am what I am, So when I get the opportunity to work with somebody, I'm coming from that space of love, and I'm giving everything I got. I become part of your team. Let's go get it. Right. So that's the vision part. Then around the vision, we have another wheel that circles around vision at the core. This wheel consists of team, systems, and controls. Team, systems, and controls. Now, your team, if you want to grow and you want to scale, once you got that vision established, you better create a rock star team. Your number one thing, or one of your top three things as the CEO of your company, my opinion, is building a rock star team. You've got to have that ability to pull together a rock star team. If you don't, again, it's gonna hold you back. It's gonna limit you. It's gonna make your life miserable, right?
Mhm.
So the ability to build a great team. Some of our frameworks within that component are like we promote like a 7-step hiring process. And I know you both have been playing in this field for a long time. You have your own hiring processes. You do it well. So we're a big proponent of that. You got to have a process for, recruiting, for hiring, right? Even for firing. You've got to have a process for all of this stuff, right? So building a great team is one of the big cores of this wheel around your vision. The second part of that are your systems. You've got to have great systems and processes. If you don't, right, your business will always fall back to whoever you have working for you. And they're not thinking at the level you are as a business owner. So I use an example all the time. Many years ago, I hired somebody to help us with social media. So I hired this woman to help us with social media. And then I took my eyes off of it. And what the lesson I learned back then in my own business was, if you give them no instruction, you give them no guideline, they're going to go by what they think.
Mm-hmm.
And if they haven't been part of your company or your industry or whatever, they have no idea. All they have is what they know. And that may not be consistent with what your expectations are or what your desires are. So we learned that hard lesson as this person was putting out all kinds of crazy stuff. And when somebody brought my attention to it, I was like, wait a minute, time out. No good. This isn't working for me, right? But I didn't make that person wrong. That was my fault as the leader of the company at that time. I just threw the ball over the fence and said, go get him, without really having a process for her, not really giving any proper training, setting any proper expectation. Right? So what do we expect of that person? They're going to do the best what they think. Now, you're talking about the difference between a business owner, and this is not to knock people who might do social media work or somebody who might work for you, but they were a $10 an hour person at that time. So I'm entrusting my PR to a $10 an hour person who's never run a business before. Shame on me. Lesson learned, right? It was a painful lesson, but it was a lesson learned. So the team, the systems, right? And we have frameworks for systems, how to build a system. And this is where I love because I came from big corporate America, I took a lot of great stuff out of big corporate America. I was doing a lot of stuff in like ISO 9000, a lot of stuff in big process improvement. My master's degree was in process improvement. So I had a lot of that knowledge that I was bringing into the small business arena for the first time, it seemed. A lot of small business owners just didn't understand that language back then. So then the third component of that wheel are your controls. Your controls, those are your measurements. Those are your metrics. Those are the numbers. The numbers never lie. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. Period. End of story, folks. You have to know your numbers. And most business owners hate going there.
Yeah.
They don't like it. And no, you know what? Too bad. That's the New York in me. Too bad. You want to run a business? You want to run a great business? Remember, people depend on you. People who work for you depend on you. The clients who are hiring you are depending on you. If you don't know your numbers and you don't know your business, how are you doing the right thing by those people who depend on you?
You're taking a chance. I mean, there are people who make it work, but without having the numbers. But I think of them as being lucky. Sometimes you're accidentally or successful. When you have the numbers, then you can get the predictable outcomes. You can make it work.
But even then, even the lucky people, luck only takes them so far. And at some point in time, it's like stuff starts breaking down and without the numbers, they don't even know how to fix it. They don't know where to look. They don't even know what the problem is.
And this is a lot of times as a coach, we bump into ego. It's not me. It couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. I got $1 million business. Really? Couldn't be you, huh? Mm-hmm. And then we start digging and we see what we find. I remember in the cleaning industry, and this is not a knock, I remember very few people knew their numbers a dozen years ago, 15 years back when I was coaching some of these back in 2000, the earlier 2000s. And then I bumped into a couple, like we mentioned Teresa already. And I'll throw a shout out to our friend Bruce Vance too, who's another guy who just knew his numbers. Yeah. And I was really impressed. I was like, this is great. I would ask a hard question about the numbers and they'd come right back with the numbers. And I was like, all right, now you're helping somebody like me help you. If you lie to me, I can't help you. Or if you have no idea, then it makes it harder for me to help you. But when you really do understand your numbers, boy, you make it really easy for people to rally around you and help you get what you want.
It's like going to the doctor and telling them that everything's fine when it really isn't.
Exactly. Now, you said something huge before, Tom. You said predictable, the word predictable. And I love that word. And I challenge everyone out there to create predictable revenue streams in your business, to create this predictable business, right? That's why in residential cleaning, we're always going after the recurring cleanings, right? We want those recurring cleanings. These one-timers are nice, but if we don't have the systems in place to try and convert those one-timers into recurring at some point, right? Then business becomes painful. The churn is painful.
Well, MINDstretch introduces professional management tools to the residential cleaning industry, and professional management is about getting predictable outcomes. Publicly traded companies, every quarter, it's like, this is what we did last quarter. This is what we're going to do next quarter. And more times than not, they do it. And it's not an accident. They have the tools, they have the numbers, and they manage their business based on the numbers.
And that's key, right? That's key. And it starts with the knowing and that desire to know. When you get clear on what your numbers are, you could do some miraculous stuff. But the thing is, you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I do love the purpose thing. But, one of the things that we've found, Dean, is that in our industry, a lot of times people can know their numbers, but they really don't understand them. They don't
Yeah.
know,
So yes,
how to use them, what, you
right,
know, yeah, they can give you the
right,
answer, but how to move forward with that, it
right.
kind of, you remember, Tom, when we did that entire month about KPIs, and we thought that, so that was every day. We were doing smart business moves back during COVID. We were doing it every day. And we decided that there were just too many people out there that didn't know their numbers. We're like, and mostly Tom, when I say we, mostly Tom was like, we're done with this, right?
Right.
People are going to understand these numbers. And so we spent an entire month every single day for an hour breaking down every tiniest thing that you could think of about every one of the numbers that we could think of at the time.
Right.
And still, at the end of that month, I would say the people that went through with us for the whole entire month, they got it. All those
Right.
people got it.
Right.
But there were people that came in here or there, saw maybe 10 of the airings, and it was hard. They just continued to say, so hard. I know what those numbers are. I kind of know where to get them. I mean, it's different now, right? Like Made Central and a lot of the scheduling programs make it so much easier now to get your numbers, get those reports. Well, maybe not a lot of the scheduling programs, but it's a lot easier to get reports than it was, even 5 years ago.
Right.
So that's helping people, but still getting the numbers. And I know this because of our circle work. So we have a coaching system called Strategic Success Circles, and we bring people in and we give them a tool that they use, the growth execution tool. And they have to put all their numbers in there on a daily basis for the first month and then weekly after that. And even after doing it for every single day for a month, sometimes there's still a little struggle
Yeah.
about what this number is. What does it mean? They won't even notice some number that is just, way out of whack. Like your payroll
Right.
percent revenue is 512%. Do you see why that's a problem? No. How do you know, Liz? Darn.
Right.
Darn.
I mean,
Well,
this comes back to the concept we learned from the book The E-Myth from Michael Gerber. Most people in the residential cleaning, a lot of them anyway, started out as technicians. They started out cleaning. A few of you didn't, and that's great. But 20 years ago, when I first started meeting cleaning companies, a lot of them were technicians in their business, and they were learning how to be an entrepreneur, how to be a business owner. And one of the things I fell in love with your industry about 15, 20 years ago. And one of the things I loved about it was how so many of you took it to heart to come together and do something about it, to grow together, to change the industry. Right? When Arxy came about, it was like, okay, now there was a platform for people to come together, and seeing folks like you folks putting together programs, that was so critically necessary. The more people stay in conversation, the easier these concepts are to understand. It's like you were teaching them a foreign language. That was the problem. It was a foreign language to most of them because they were technicians. Now all of a sudden you're talking to them about concepts and numbers they never thought about. They never thought that they would ever have to think about. And most of them were in denial that they would ever have to think that way. Right? I was coaching somebody the other day when I called them out on that concept. It's like, hey, your way of thinking is what got you where you are. You're telling me you want something different, and I'm telling you, you need to change the way you're thinking. You need to change the way you're looking at it. You need to change the way you're understanding your business. Because what got you to this mark is not going to get you here. And it's certainly not going to get you there, if that's what you're saying. Right? So it's a harsh reality, yes. However, it is doable. And in your community, the residential cleaning industry, I love what I've seen there in the last 15, 20 years. It excites me more. And now the people I'm bumping into are way further down the path than they were when I was bumping into them 20 years ago. And I
Yeah.
love that because it means we could do so much more. There's so much more possibility now. I mean, think about your system, Tom, MINDstretch.
Yeah.
Putting that tool in people's hands. Now,
Yeah.
there's no excuse not to have the numbers. The numbers are there. Now, the next challenge is helping them interpret the numbers, right? What does it mean?
And how to use the numbers to grow and to generate profit. And
Right.
that's what we do. And we've noticed, like, over the years, go back to when you first got involved with the industry, it was rare to find a residential cleaning company that was doing $1 million a year.
Right. Very true.
Now, I think last time we looked, like 54% of the companies that are using MINDstretch are north of $1 million in revenue. And
Bravo.
you
I
know,
love that.
and some of them meaningful amounts higher than that, numbers that you would not have even considered 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So the industry is growing, it's evolving.
Right. And thankfully, and it's a wonderful thing to see. Now it's like, you've got some entrepreneurs in this industry now that can run any business in any industry. And
Yep.
that's awesome. Maybe that wasn't such the case 20 years ago, but it is now. It definitely is now. And that stems from all of this kind of conversation, all the masterminds, all the coachings, all the seminars, all the webinars, and to see as many cleaning company owners active, participating in those is amazing because you don't see that in a lot of other industries. A lot of people do the talking, but then when it comes time to show up at the event so that they can learn something, they don't show.
Hey, Dean, Christian's got a question in chat, and based on your coaching and working with cleaning companies, could you give us, what you see as the biggest struggle when it comes to operating a cleaning business?
Right. Oh, it's a tough one because the biggest ones we see and have seen revolve around a couple of those things I mentioned already. One of them being team, building the right team. Without building the right team, we always looked at the 7-figure mark back in the day with cleaning companies as that glass ceiling. Most couldn't get past that. And a lot of that had to do with the lack of proper team and the lack of systems. Those were the two big things, the two big thorns that were destroying a lot of these smaller businesses. They couldn't just get out of their own way. And, when I say team, that also includes the leadership being willing to let go and delegate. Right. So those were big. Vision, I think, is also big. Right. So could I name one thing? I don't know. I know so many cleaning company owners now that for many, they all those pieces kind of fall like this. Your systems, your team, your vision, it all kind of falls like this. I think a lot of it has to do with your strategy. What's your strategy? What do you want? What do you want? Why do you want it? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to let go of? Get out of your own way long enough. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got a big event coming up in St. Louis. There's an event. Arcsy's got an event coming up in St. Louis, I believe, right? Where they're going to get people get an opportunity to go walk through a Rockstar owner's facility. Are you nuts? Why wouldn't you be there?
Mhm.
Why wouldn't anybody be there?
2 Rockstar owners right
Even
across
better.
the street from each other.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
So
Yeah.
there's nothing better than seeing it in action and being able to pick the brain of somebody who's doing it. Right? It's just incredible. So I hope it's a full packed house. I hope those of you who are still on the fence, book your ticket.
For the regional event for Arcsy, I saw the numbers last week, and I think it was like 47, 48 people had signed up so far. And for a regional event, that's a decent number. And
Yeah.
for regional events, a lot of people are like traveling, hopping in a car and going somewhere, and registrations come in, last
Right.
week or so. So they're doing well.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that because those are the kind of things that make the difference, that are going to get us past these big stumbling blocks, these big rocks, like building a great team and having great systems.
There's another thing that I see a lot, and I think going to the ARCSI regional event is a good first step, and that is that people get so caught up in the whirlwind. They work and they work and they work, and similar to the E-Myth story, right? But they're not working on the right stuff. Right?
Yes.
And you're too busy. You have to
Yeah.
stop. You have to slow down, stop doing the things that you're doing today, and you need to do new things and
Correct.
probably fewer things. You need to
Mhm.
not be working 60-hour weeks because you're not getting the results that you want. So I see that a lot as a bit one of the things that really holds people back too. Just too much spinning.
That holds companies back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liz, you said a magic word. That's the second magic word I heard today, and that's fewer. And one of our concepts is what we call the fewer better. And in 2023, it's one of our mantras, focusing on the fewer better. Stop. We're trying to get people to stop the clutter. Oh my goodness, people are so busy doing everything, all of this stuff, and it's like, stop. You know, do you even know if any of this stuff is working for you? You don't have to market yourself on 90,000 platforms. You don't have to do all of this stuff. Focus on the fewer better. Right? So, magic word, fewer. Right?
Yeah.
Really hyper focus.
You know, you mentioned, having processes, and I see companies developing very complex processes for simple problems, and they can get to the same outcome, if not a better outcome, in a fraction of the time and effort. And just because you're making it as complicated as you can imagine doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get better outcomes.
Fantastic. I absolutely agree with that. Brilliant. So complex does not mean better. It certainly doesn't. I'll oftentimes get a lot of pushback from cleaning companies in particular uh, when I talk about creating systems. And they know I use certain tools when I create systems. I'll use automation and those things, but I use a tool called Asana a lot. I
Mhm.
use a tool called Keep a lot. All right, when I'm building systems, these are just tools I use. It does not mean you need to use them. And they'll, oh, I can't learn this. I can't learn the tool. I can't learn this. I'm like, you know what? No more excuses. Just get a pencil and a piece of paper and write a
Yeah.
damn checklist. You can't do that. You can't take 5 minutes. You're complaining to me that you got a quality issue on site when you're doing these kinds of jobs. You can't take 5 minutes and write down a checklist that your team can use when they're on site performing that task? What's stopping you? Really? You can't? Oh, okay. You have a problem with your hands right now? You just dictate it to me and I'll write it down
Yeah.
and I'll send it over to you. So we try and remove all the excuses. There really aren't many when it comes down to just start with simple checklists, right? Don't complicate it. You don't have to cross every T and dot every I and make sure every possible scenario in the world. I use a framework that I said, get to 80%. Get it to 80% where it needs to be. And when you get it to where 80% where it needs to be, then we'll look at the next 20%. And we'll take that 20% that's still lacking and we'll get that 80% fixed.
And,
Right. And
and
then
we talk about the Pareto principle, where you can get 80% of the value with 20% of the effort, and do that. For
right.
starters, a lot of people kind of freeze when you start talking about
Yes.
processes. They get stuck in the weeds, and it's like, you know, pages and pages and pages of stuff that's not useful, that nobody is going to read. Just
Right.
start out real simple, real simple.
Exactly. And that's a big breakdown that we've seen over the last 15 years, 20 years is that they want to do it. They say they want to do it, but when it comes down to it, they don't do it. Right? But yet they're complaining about the outcomes that they're getting, regardless of what it is. And this isn't just the cleaning industry. So don't worry, folks out there that are listening. This is every industry.
Yeah.
I've coached some of the best and brightest across numerous service industries. I've seen the same problems across the board. So we're all human. We're all entrepreneurs. We're all small business owners. We all have the same kinds of problems. It is what it is. Get out of our own way, dumb it down, focus on the fewer better, look at your business and say, okay, these are the big problems I have right now. So when we're looking at what are the 3 things to attack this next quarter, let's say in Q2, what are the big 3 things you can attack? They come in 1 or 2 classes. They're either something that's holding you back or something that can propel you forward, right? So something that helps you scale or something that removes a rock that's holding you back. There's a rock in your path. Let's talk about removing them. So out of the 3 things you pick, 2 of them might be rocks that you remove that allow your business to move further, faster. And 1 might be a way of scaling your business, right? So it is about looking at the business and taking a little bit, as Tom, you mentioned, a simpler approach. It doesn't have to be this complicated because it's not. We, the humans, we complicate it. That's us. We're the ones creating that problem.
Yeah.
This is why everybody needs a coach, right? And if you can't afford a coach, if you think you can't afford a coach, get a mastermind partner, an accountability partner. Call up another cleaning company and say, hey, look, I really like the stuff I hear you say on LinkedIn or Facebook. You know what? How about we play bookends with one another and we just have a quick 15-minute call every week and we talk about moving each other forward. You could find 15 minutes, can't you? It's not that complicated. So again, we tend to make excuses on why we can't have and why we can't do. And I'm telling you, and I'm giving you permission if that's what you feel you need. Step out of your own way for a second and just allow yourself to succeed. It's not that hard. It does require you to do the right things in the right order at the right time, in the right way, though. If you're not willing to do that or you're not sure how to do that, pay attention to conversations like this. You guys run this program how often?
Weekly.
Weekly.
This one?
I mean,
This?
holy cow.
Yeah.
It's a college education and then some. Think about everything we talked about already today. I heard that last one with Debbie Sardone that you guys did. That was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. Between what all 3 of you were saying and sharing in that. That was an education. If you do not know what to do to elevate your business and your game, go back and listen to that.
I think the other really awesome thing is if it's you, that's the best case scenario. You can fix you.
Yes. Oh, yes.
If it's the world, you can fix the world,
Right.
but you can fix you, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
that's the first place to look. I mean, if we're talking about KPIs, guess what? Right here, start
Right.
here. It's going to be
Absolutely.
faster, easier. You got control over it. I'm like, why not start there? Even
Right.
if you're sure it's not you. Check.
Right. Exactly. But that's a
Yeah.
hard place for a lot of people because ego.
Yeah.
We don't want to admit a lot of times that it's us. The reason I mentioned early in the call today, in the conversation today, that I got my butt kicked all over the place early on in my entrepreneur career, that was because I didn't know what I didn't know, and my ego was totally in the way. I thought, I have the college degrees. It can't be me. Really?
Yeah.
Well, that was a harsh reality. That was when you finally figure out that you're the problem. Wow, that sucked. I wasn't happy about that. Right? It's not a pleasant place, but you know what? I had to learn the lesson. If I didn't, I wouldn't be able to become who I am today. And that affects not only how I behave in my business, but affects all my clients. It affects my kids. It affects who I am, how I show up for my wife. It affects everything in my world. So allowing myself to be a little vulnerable, allowing myself to do that introspective work, to figure out and realizing sometimes it does take having an outside person look in and see.
We did a workshop in Charleston back in March. Did several of them actually, and I introduced Liz to my business coach. Going way back, I've worked with with Dan, and he spoke and did some workshops for an event that Liz was leading. And I remember way back when he was trying to help me see that it was me, and I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. And then eventually it was like, oh crap, it is me. And it changes everything.
Right? It's powerful and empowering all at the same time. And once that ego gets bruised like that and it gets crushed, yeah, it hurts and it stings a little bit. But you know what? The growth that comes because of that. Oh my goodness. Eh, If you really truly want more, you have to be willing to allow yourself to be vulnerable like that. You have to be willing to entertain that possibility that it could be you. Like we have this question I see on the screen here.
Hopefully.
Right. Hopefully, as you're pointing out, Liz, you're right. Hopefully it is.
Yeah.
So I would ask Sweep Home, as we see on the screen, finding the right people and going to be dependable and reliable, right? A lot of that I found over the years, and this may be hard to hear, a lot of that is because the owner themselves wasn't clear on what exactly they wanted in a team member. They may not have had the right training in place. They may not have had the right systems in place. They may not have had their core values laid out and identified when they were going after it. And I know people are going to come back and say, well, it's so hard to find people willing to clean these days. We'll take anyone. And I say, don't. Why would you want to scale your business or grow your business with people who don't belong there? You're better off running a better, more profitable company, smaller, more profitable, better, with better people that fit your values than you are trying to scale to be something with people who don't belong there. Eventually, that roller coaster is going to get out of whack. It's going to get out of control. You're going to have the inmates running the asylum at some point because they don't buy into what you're proposing. So sometimes you have to realize it's okay to run a smaller but better company, right? I remember coaching a cleaning company many years ago that they were right on the brink of $1 million. And then, they hired me to help them get through the glass ceiling. We did. We got past it. Then we started talking about their profitability. Once we got their ego boosted by helping them get their revenue up, then I hit them with their issue with profitability. When it came down to it, they were making so little money that they could have made more money going to work for a local convenience store as an employee than all the stress and pain they went through in the past year to run this $1 million company. So I helped them achieve what they wanted first. And then we talked about what they needed. You needed better profitability, and that was not easy for them to swallow. But it's like, push comes to shove. If you're not making enough money to survive, I don't care how much money your company's making, right? What are you in business for?
Yeah, you need more. Hey, Tom, did you check out the time, Tom?
Yeah, we started the show talking about how fast time's going, and I think that we just proved it. We are at the top of the hour.
We're past. We weren't even paying attention. We're past.
So, Dean, if our audience, if there's anybody in our audience is thinking that, well, maybe this makes sense, maybe I should explore, getting a coach, what's the best way for them? And if they wanted to have a discussion, I'm sure you'd be glad to have that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I grant my cleaning company friends as a lot more leniency and good things than I do most of my others because I play so much in this industry. I have so many friends in this industry. So yeah, reach out to me. Let's talk. You can go to deanmercado.com right on the homepage. There's a link right there to my calendar. Get you on my calendar. I will not hard sell you. That's not what I'm here for. If we're meant to work together, you'll know. I'll know.
Quickly. Yeah.
There's people that are meant to work with me and there's people that aren't. And that doesn't mean that I'm bad or you're bad or anything like that. But yeah, deanmercado.com right there. You could see it says, let's talk right there on the screen. Click that button.
Oh yeah. And I love what Sweet Home says. Sometimes we need people to tell us what we are doing wrong to make us realize what we should be doing. right?
Yes.
Sometimes we can't see it ourselves. Forest for the trees, right? We're in
Right.
the middle of it. We can't see it. We need somebody with that big view, that bird's eye view that can point out, hey, look here.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Agreed.
And if you're going to be in St. Louis next week, or if you want to go to St. Louis next week, we've got several good reasons for you. We're doing a Made Central Discovery Day on the 27th, which is a Thursday. Office tours. We have two cleaning businesses in St. Louis, and they happen to be right across the street from each other. One is Matt's business. It's Better Life Maids, and uh, Green Angels is the other one. It's right across the street, actually. And on Saturday, we are Sharon Tinsberg is doing a training session on cleaning techniques. So, 3 full days if you want to do it. If you're only in town for a day, you can pick your event. And all of them, you can find arcsy.org/regional and register for any or all of them. Wow.
awesome.
Dean,
Wow.
thank you. It's been way too long. We can't
Absolutely.
let that happen again. It was fun having you. Appreciate your help.
Oh, I appreciate being here with both of you. This was a lot of fun, and I'm sure it won't be this long between our next visits with one another. So I look forward to it. And the channel is open. Feel free to reach out to me as well. Anything you want to talk about, let's talk,
Sounds great, Dean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
Let's have
that.
some fun.
Awesome.
Thank
So
you.
we're going to go ahead and call it a wrap for today. We'll be back next
Bye,
Wednesday,
y'all.
5 o'clock Eastern. Take care.
Take care,
Bye,
folks.
everybody.